Okay, so day 3 of how to define your personal style. I think I'm getting just a little bit more confident, and I will do my best this time to say hi in the comments, and you're welcome to ask me any questions, and please just say hi if you're here. It helps me out. So today I have kind of 2 topics for you. The first one is vocabulary and how the importance of having like vocabulary. Wait, actually, let me backtrack, because first of all, it was suggested to me that I should reiterate why I'm doing this and what the purpose of me doing this is. So what this is I'm doing a series of live videos over 25 days on techniques. Hi Stone, hi sis, hi Azia, thank you guys so much. My girls and my sister. So I'm doing this over 25 days, just techniques that I have started writing about, a lot of content about, and even the beginnings of a book on just how you can kind of work through a variety of ways that are in some ways similar to the design process, but in other ways a little bit different and more like kind of prone to like styling and stuff. And this is gonna help you to create your like sense of like your identity and your style, and allow you to express yourself like more in line with like your own like true like self-expression. And just like it's kind of like a process that when you start to figure out like what your personal style is and what is strong about it, then you can work to strengthen that and boost that and overall achieve like a more high-end and fashion-forward look for yourself. So as you know, I'm fashion designer and personal stylist, and I also do interiors and art framing and art galleries. So this is something that I work with clients on pretty much every single day, and so that has given me like a really good sense for how to communicate with people about things like design concepts and color, and how to get a really good like visual end result. But it's also a very like oh, hi Mickey, hi. Thank you guys for watching. So yeah, how to communicate, but also when you're working with clients, you also have kind of a more personable relationship with them. So when you define your personal style, it's the same thing. It's the combination of the visual and the design with the more like emotional and your relationships and your kind of experiences in life. So that's kind of how I'm trying to push like a little bit differently than maybe some personal stylists, and then I really want kind of a deeper and more meaningful connection, and I think the design process really lends itself to that. So there's my not so brief summary of why I'm doing this, and now I will get back into today's topic. So today's topic is, first of all, vocabulary, and then second of all, another like secondary thing to how you source visual inspiration. So yesterday I went out and I took a lot of pictures around my stomping grounds of San Francisco, and that's like one great way to source really meaningful and personal inspiration. But I'm going to show you today how to like go on the internet, go into books, like kind of reference materials like magazines as well, and to source information that way. So first of all is vocabulary. So vocabulary is kind of just like a simple way to almost like start to categorize things. Like it's not necessarily labeling yourself, like I don't want you to think about it as that, but it does help you to kind of find like some of those more like focused points on what you are and also what you aren't. So the best way to start defining your personal style using vocabulary is a mind map. So you can literally just start with like a bullet point circle, and I was actually gonna show you one of my old mind maps, but I'll show you, I'll show you tomorrow. I'll pull it up, but basically it's just start writing words and draw lines between words, and like start with like a topic and then draw a line to a related topic, and then do like bullet points like around that, and just like other subtopics. So it creates almost like a spider web of words, and that is how you start to kind of filter ideas in your mind using words. And then the other thing to do is start with like words that you relate to, and you can use this thesaurus to find similar words. So start with a lot of words, and then ultimately I want you to end up with at most 5 words only. So this can be tricky, but this is how you start to edit down and get into what your defined style is. So for example, I'm sure some of you guys can guess what words I use to identify my style. I use the word luxury a lot, and like high end. So like why I've chosen that word is it just like implies like more of a philosophy. So I mean, luxury is thrown around a lot to describe like more expensive items, but to me it doesn't necessarily mean that. It is more about like the quality and the integrity of the item. So I will also continue to talk more about this, because it's kind of an educational process of also learning how to tell like kind of the quality of something, like especially once you've defined your style and you actually go out and go shopping. Expensive does not necessarily mean quality. And then there's also kind of the philosophical approach that I take to luxury, in that it's almost like a way of being and a way of feeling, that as if you are doing things that are making you happy and like feel like comfortable and like free and stuff, then it might not cost you any money. It might not have a relationship to money at all. So luxury is for me more about the feeling and the kind of integrity of something. The second word I use is opulent, and that to me is the more like kind of ornate and like detailing, and some of the like my attention to like metals and hardware and stuff. So it's and also historical references. So for me, I use the word ornate to describe like things that are kind of like gaudy, and but more like attention to detail, and like just like a lot of detail, and maybe even like piled on. So then the next word I like to use is edgy, because I think edgy is a good word to describe maybe the less pretty things in life, like a little bit more of the grittiness, or like, because you know, I think that's kind of what I was also getting at yesterday with like wanting you to go out and source information like that's more personal to you. It's like it doesn't necessarily, like inspiration doesn't necessarily mean it's like beautiful and perfect and completely composed, and like it's more like edgy is more about like those subtle things that maybe they're kind of even like disgusting or just kind of weird, but it's something cool about it. And that's how you find like the subtleness of like something that is modern and new. And so I think I have 2 words left, because I said 5 at most. I'll try to hurry up on these too, because I have more to get to. But so yeah, I think posh is one of them. I just like that word because it implies a few different things, like kind of chic, kind of like more sleek, like intentional, put together, like composed. And then, oh, I forgot my last one. Maybe I'll remember it later. Oh yeah, it's very obvious to anyone who knows me. Minimal. So yes, minimalism is my new like quest to figure out the meaning of life through minimalism. So, and it's actually a very hard thing that I'm trying to do, of combine things like ornate detailing and edginess and stuff with something like minimalism, because true minimalism would probably have like none of that. But so I explained the words I chose for myself to kind of give you an idea of how I think and why I want you to break down the words. And but I mean, ultimately you can figure out what words mean something to you and find like reasons that they kind of connect the dots for you, for your style. So I know, like, you met Brittany yesterday. She probably would do like futuristic, maybe disco, probably like 80s new wave. Like, those are kind of her style things. So like futuristic is a good word to describe her style. Let's see, Azia is on here. I know Azia, ornate is a good word to describe your style. Embellished. So, okay, now I'm going to talk about sourcing imagery. So I have a Pinterest board. Let me see if I can actually put the link in here for you. Hopefully it doesn't take too much time. So maybe I can talk while I write it out. So Pinterest is really easy to use. There are a lot of great images there. You can just filter through like really quickly. I wouldn't necessarily recommend Pinterest as a designer because with design, you want to be creating something that's not already created. So sometimes already looking at fashion images it's like, you want to be aware of what's out there, but you don't necessarily want to copy it as a designer. But if you're doing your personal style, this is my opinion that it's different. You should be looking at fashion imagery and looking at trends, but also looking at the difference between like a trend and what is timeless, because we're trying to develop a style for you that is going to last for a long time and be timeless. All right, almost done putting in the link for you. It's just a little bit long because it's like a specific Pinterest board. There we go. So yeah, that's a link to my Pinterest board for my personal style. And then I'll try and talk through it with you. Hopefully, there's Julia's. This might not be great. Yeah, I'm going to just encourage you to go look at the link because I think it's going to be very difficult to zoom in on my Pinterest board. Maybe. Is there a reason why, and with 5 words at most to define personal style and not more or less? A word for, or a question from Azia. So this is like why I have the word define, because, and it is a concept that I've developed from studying minimalism, but I think, Azia, you'll understand it from the concept of cohesiveness, especially like for a collection design. You have to tell a storyline and you have to have the elements kind of pair. So your personal style should be similar, because like a similar type of cohesiveness, because it's going to allow you to express like the strongest points within yourself like even more. So it's the process of editing down already, like already starting. You start out with a lot of words and then you find the ones that you resonate with the most. So that's kind of going to be the process throughout this whole thing, is starting out with lots of things and then funneling it down to what is the strongest for you, and then you will have a sense of like more of like a relationship and stronger connection to all of the elements of your style, but it will also create like more like of an impact too, and it will make it easier to get dressed every day, of course, because you're gonna love everything that you have. So does that help answer your question? It's a little bit challenging to explain like why, because I think there's a little bit of hesitancy like with anything like around minimalism. You're like, well, am I going to be boring? Am I going to be like wearing all the same things every day? And it is like a little bit of a mentality change in that you're actually going to just have a little bit more organization. And then the other thing with your personal style is you can constantly edit it. So it's not like you're stuck once you've done this process, you're stuck in it. The idea is you're constantly moving forward. You're just more like fine-tuning the details. So you can always change a word if you go back and realize one of the 5 words doesn't really fit with you anymore. But it's just, yeah, to start developing like the cohesiveness and like the strongest points. Okay, so if you're on my Pinterest board, you can see what I've already done. So I've gone through and I've actually, very straightforward, searched fashion using the vocabulary. So I have actually searched for edgy fashion and minimal fashion and like all those things. The other thing I've done is I've searched for my favorite fashion houses, my favorite designers, and then I've tried to just follow links. I've been actually spending several months, even though there aren't that many images, and I'm going to tell you why. So when you are looking for images, you already want to be in mind of like this type of like person that you want to be. So you want to be like for me, I've identified with this idea of a boss lady, which you guys probably also know about that. So why I think of boss is good to me is like a good idea of like a person that I want to be is like she's strong, she is independent, she is very like sleek and modern and up with the times. She's like networking, she attends events. Like, you know, boss lady is just someone who does like a lot of different things but is kind of like in control and just like maybe not necessarily in control is the best word that I want to say, but like she just kind of commands like a lifestyle that is like aligned with like her values. So what you do when you source imagery is you try to find imagery that represents like the type of woman that you want to be. So I think all of these kind of women in the images, I mean, they have brown hair, so which I did that on purpose actually, so it wouldn't distract me because I'm like envisioning like what my perfect style would look like. But you don't have to necessarily do that. But so like throughout the Pinterest board, there are a lot of things that are kind of consistent, and all those were intentional. So I'm starting to look at shapes and silhouettes of the overall look, how things are paired together. I intentionally chose a lot of garments that are tailored because that is kind of part of like the businessy side, like the strong and intentional side of the style that I'm going for. So there's that. And then I've stayed away kind of from like some of them, even though I am trying to incorporate like lace and some like golds and some beading, I've stayed away from the more like boho style. I don't think that necessarily like identifies with me as much. And then yeah, I'm just also considering like the color. So there are a lot of, if anyone's just hopping on, I attached the link to my Pinterest board, which is what I'm talking about. Sorry. So yeah, I've already started to consider colors. So I have it pretty much blacks, whites, a little bit of some warmer like beiges or nude colors, and then silver, golds, like, so already starting to consider like even like those little pops of red. All of those things are ideas of how I want the direction that I want my personal style to go. So what else? If you want to also, yeah, and then like kind of the sleek, kind of some of the things that I like backless. I really like backless because to me my back is like representative of kind of my hard work and overcoming things, because I did break my back. So there's meaning in everything I've chosen. And I've chosen like also specific brands that kind of I aspire to have like a relationship for, just like my style, or like I aspire to be like the designers of these brands because they're incredible. So so there's that, and then the rest of my Pinterest also has some of like interiors and other things that I look to, because that's the second thing of sourcing inspiration, is you can start to look towards like other more unusual things or other areas like in your lifestyle that you want to kind of funnel into your style. So I have a lot of like interiors and other color things. Let's see. Yeah, and then I have kind of one Pinterest board. The push Pinterest board is all of those things. The meaning of the swirly shoes. Okay, so yeah, my sister just asked me a question. I don't know what will happen if I click the link that you popped in, but I'm guessing that you're talking about the shoes that have like all the gold like circles and stuff. That is really specifically the type of details that I am trying to incorporate in my style, because I have an idea of the direction I want to go, which is putting more, it's kind of tricky, I think, what I have like as far as where I want to go, because I am very much like into minimalism, but I want to try and incorporate like tech forward and the geometry of kind of some of the techie stuff and some of the minimalist stuff with like some of the more classic and ornate. So I'm trying to kind of combine a lot of different things, and when I do like accessories like and shoes and stuff, that's actually a great way to still have kind of like a modern silhouette, but you can have some of like the embellishments in different ways, like jewelry or shoes or handbags, or so. Plus, I went to this shoe store that has like these crazy heels, and I think I definitely have those shoes on my mind. So it's not like super deep, meaningful, but it is a reference of something that I want to try and incorporate in my style. Does that help, sis? Then I am going to just show you the other thing that I do, because I am going to show you a sketchbook and collaging as well. So I have here literally a stack of fashion magazines. So what I like to do is I like to filter through and just browse through and see. This helps me stay up to date on what is trending, the overall mood, the overall like editorial stuff, and as well as like Vanity Fair always has like older like political articles, or a lot of like old Hollywood stuff. So Vanity Fair actually is great for kind of old images of like classic and Hollywood. So I will literally just funnel through these, and sometimes I'll read things, but if I see an image that I resonate with, I just tear it out and I save it for later, for when I go and collage. So, what's your favorite fashion magazine or top 3? Oh, wow, that's a tough one. I've read Vanity Fair pretty much since I was like 11, and I like to read, so maybe that's why I like Vanity Fair. Plus, I know it's just like a mixture of fashion. It's not necessarily fashion first, so I think I like that it has like sometimes the most like kind of cheesy like dramas of like people with just way too much money, and like the kind of sometimes like the articles are just like ridiculous. So I don't read it cover to cover anymore. I don't have the time, but I did for a long time. So right now I have Elle, and so Vanity Fair, which actually let me show you this editorial. unless I teared it out. Never mind. This editorial is with Emma Watson is actually really, I really loved it because she was like frames, and she had like models like coming out of the frames. So of course, since I have a framing store, I was like, oh, I love this, it's framing, but it's also like very minimal color palette, a little bit of femininity, but also like kind of the gaudy, ornate, like gilded, like framing and stuff. So, and it had like a sense of destruction. So if you have a chance to look at that, it's online, you can search it. I have Mary Claire, and I think that's actually it. That's what these are. Yeah, that's a really good question, Azia, because I don't do too many fashion magazines, but I can tell you one magazine that has fashion that I'm super obsessed with, and it's all online, and it's minimalissimo.com, and they just have all kinds of designers. I'll send a link maybe in the comments after I'm done. But it's just everything minimal that designers are doing, and like everything is basically like picture perfect, clean lines, and it's just all like the newest designers, and they have like minimal fashion, but they also have like graphic design, art and illustration. They even have like music sections and like different products or gadgets, and like even like tech gadgets and stuff. So it's a really great magazine. I would say that's been my biggest one, and I think the entire magazine is online. So yeah, shredding through magazines, pretty much an age-old technique, but I do it. And then the other thing are books. And by the way, everything I talked about Pinterest, you can do with Google image search too. So I have a couple books. Like really all you have to do these days is just take a picture of whatever image on the page interests you, and then you can go and print it. So this is 20,000 years of fashion, and I just love to look at fashion history because you start to notice more details in how things are made, and it's just, to me, it's like really fascinating, and then it just creates like a little bit more, like when you see that reference nowadays in fashion, you kind of start to understand it. So plus like I use this book for, actually this book has brought me towards minimalism in a certain way. Maybe I should find a good image for you, because so on my gallery flooring, for those of you who haven't been here, this is my gallery flooring. It's black and white checkers. And then I realized that black and white checkers was really popular in like the 17th and 18th century. There, that's one example. So like these are the types of things that you can start to look for as inspiration, and it puts like connections together in different ways, and it kind of brings out like a new way of looking at things. And it also creates like what I'm talking about, which is like more meaning and more like intention behind something. So I'm sure everyone has something that they've just been inspired by or really intrigued by, and that could, even if it's not even fashion related at all, that could be a source of something that connects you to your personal style. I own it. I don't know if you can get it. Actually, it was a gift from my grandmother's cousin, her father was a fashion designer in New York. So she actually gave me a number of different books that are really interesting, which I'm also going to show you. One other thing that I just am so inspired by that she gave me, and this is just like, you can go and find reference materials in history as well. So like fashion icons. You can look at like Hollywood stars, or like the 60s were great for like the mod fashion icon. Like every decade pretty much has some like really cool fashion icons that represented kind of the whole like essence of what that decade was. So yeah, I would say like you can look through that, but also like what I want to show you is like I have these catalogs from the 1910s, and I really love the 1910s because it was kind of like still a time period where it's like very like women were wearing corsets, and like they're just kind of getting out of maybe not wearing corsets, but there was also a lot of kind of the menswear and the tailoring starting to be designed into the clothing. And what is so amazing about these books is that they actually show you the technical details of how things were made, and you can see like all of the detailing, the collars, like so details. Yeah, I'm just showing you all of these things because I'm trying to help give you a sense of how I think and what I look for and what kind of draws my attention. And it is like a very much like a designer perspective, but my whole intention for this is like the design is really a great way to connect like what your experience is, like what inspires you, what is going on around in the world, and tie it into actually like almost like a tangible thing. So the reason why I'm incorporating so much like visual inspiration is because that's gonna tie into like what your visually what your personal style is actually going to be. So yeah, so for the next segment, yeah, that pretty much wraps it up as far as what I was going to talk about. So the next segment is going to be starting to sketchbook, because you might, when you're looking for inspiration, not really find exactly what you're looking for, because maybe you're trying to create something that's never been created before. And so that's where you start to use a sketchbook. And a sketchbook is where you funnel in all of your ideas and you basically like hash them out on paper, like, and visually and artistically, and you can draw over it, you can paint over it. So it's supposed to be like really messy. And so I'm gonna show you a few techniques around that, and I'm gonna show you a few techniques around collage. So if you want to jump right in with me, go out and yeah, I mean, you could spend forever on sourcing images, but do your best to get like 20 minimum images that inspire you and print them out in or like the magazines. You could also just pull for magazines. So, but you want about 20 images. The more images, the better, because then you can pick like the strongest images. And yeah, so print them out and lay them out. And I told you, I think my very first video, but I'm pretty sure I was super nervous on that video and I might not have made very much sense. So I'll tell you again to get a sketchbook, which mine is super small. It's like 5.5 by 8 inches. That's pretty small, but I'm using it kind of as a journal. But it's basically just a drawing notebook. And it has just like drawing paper. You can go to the art supply store and they label them sketchbooks. You can get as big as you want if you want a lot of like space to lay things out. So get that. Get a glue stick. Get some just regular Scotch tape and a pair of scissors. If you want to be super fancy, you can get an X-Acto knife and a cutting mat. And you can get some pens, some pencils. I mean, you could pretty much, you get like some artist tape, like get whatever you want that will make you feel like super artistic. And then, so yeah, tomorrow I will show you what you're gonna do with all of these things. So yeah, thank you for watching. I think that's a wrap. All right.